All right, welcome everyone. Wow, that was loud. Could you all hear me there?
Finally.
Welcome to the Victorville Planning Commission meeting of August 10th, 2022. I will call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cook Askins,
Present.
Commissioner Messin,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
Present.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Here.
Chair Kurth.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. And next, if you'll all please rise for the invocation that will be led to us by Commissioner Thomas, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Messin.
We bow our heads. God, we thank you for allowing us to come together today. Father, we ask that you guide us in our deliberations today. Let the decisions made here today be for the benefit of this city. We ask blessings on this commission and our city leadership. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Before we move on to general public comments, I'd like to read the public participation outline quickly. The Planning Commission is interested in hearing from the public. Individuals from the public may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during this public comment section, providing those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Individual speakers may address the Planning Commission once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. For those attending the meeting in person, and though not required, please complete a speaker card prior to the start of the meeting and place in the clear speaker card box located on the dais counter. If you'd like to comment on a public hearing item, please submit the speaker card before the public hearing item is announced. For those attending by Zoom, please click the raise your hand feature located on the Zoom screen. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who are due are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation is appreciated. So with that, we'll move into the general public comments section of tonight's meeting. Do we have anyone here in the audience that would like to speak general public comments? See no one here. Do we have anybody online?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment section. Next, we'll move on to our public hearing items. Agenda item number 1, staff report, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Kurth, fellow commissioners. Item number 1 is plan case PLAN 22-00018. It is a site plan with an environmental exemption to allow for the development of an approximately 18,340 square foot all-inclusive elderly care facility on an approximately 2.3 acre project site zoned C2 general commercial. The proposal is located approximately 1,700 feet south of Bear Valley Road and east of and abutting Amethyst Road located between an existing medical office building and the Gate Church. In summary, the 18,340 square foot two-story facility, which will offer both adult daycare and clinical care services for seniors, will be comprised of exam rooms, rehabilitation and therapy spaces, activity rooms, a dining area, and staff offices in addition to outdoor gathering spaces. Services will be offered during daytime hours and no overnight stays will take place. Adequate parking has been provided in conjunction with the proposed facility and is evenly distributed throughout the development. As a part of the operation, the facility will also offer transportation services for clients via shuttle vans, which will be secured on the property after hours. The underlying C2 general commercial zoning of the site and the surrounding properties to the north, south, and east allow for a host of uses, including medical office, retail, and other permitted uses. The proposed facility is permitted within this underlying zone district and complements existing medical office uses, to the north, and is anticipated to have minimal impacts on the residential uses west of the site. Access to the facility will be through two proposed driveways along Amethyst Road, both of which will provide access opportunities for future development to the east. Those projects will be brought before the Planning Commission under future entitlement requests. Staff finds the facility is well designed in accordance with the city's commercial design guidelines and incorporates architectural features such as a pronounced entry awning, exaggerated roof overhangs, wall plane variation, and enhanced entry features, including an accent fountain. The proposal as presented is in compliance with the applicable development standards of the city's municipal code, subject to the conditions of approval. And therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Find the project categorically exempt under 15332 of the California Environmental Quality Act entitled Infill Developments, and adopt resolution number P22-035, approving case number PLAN 22-00018, subject to the attached conditions of approval. Staff remains available if the Planning Commission has any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions for staff on this item? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is the applicant or representative here if you'd like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Mike Pontius. I'm the architect for the project. We're just excited to see this moving forward. It's the only one of a kind in the entire high desert. And I believe in the whole state of California, there might be 60 to 70 total facilities similar in size, or maybe not even quite as large as this one. But there's a desperate need up here. The elder population, which of course I'm part of, is expanding. And the doctors involved here I've had as clients that are already have medical practice in the city of Victorville and have had for a number of years. So I've been associated with them a long time. And we started looking for the land for this year to year and a half ago, and ended up landing at this location in particular, which really worked out well because we did the projects on both sides of this many years ago. So we were familiar with the property. It was owned by the church and they were in a position to want to sell it. So they're excited. Dr. Shankar is building next door. I know that these doctors that are involved in this facility are going to cooperate with them on the dental part of the facility. The facility will provide everything that Travis talked about, including clinical, which can be medical, dental, occupational therapy, physical therapy. If there's need for these patients to have to go to a hospital for anything, it's the responsibility of the PACE facility to coordinate that. It's all paid for by the government. The participants, the patients involved never come out of pocket. So it's a really great program and much needed. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, that is a very interesting and I'm sure needed concept. Any questions for the applicant's representative?
Maybe I missed it. What What are going to be the hours of operation, and will that include Saturday and Sundays or just through the?
Pardon me. Yeah, I believe they're going to run 7 days a week. I don't know the total hours yet. But I believe it will be running 7 days a week. So there's availability all times. The programs that they're going to have on the daycare portion will be extensive. There'll be all kinds of different activities involved.
And how would, excuse me, how would one qualify to partake of those services there?
Probably through Medicare or Medi-Cal, those type of programs. But they will be setting up soon in anticipation of breaking ground, we hope, within, I'd say, the next 30 days. If at all possible, we're going to do that. And the facility will open towards the end of 23 or the very first of 24, and they will be advertising and reach out to the communities from the director of the facility to make the program completely available and what's entailed with that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak to us on agenda item number 1? And do we have anyone online?
We do not.
Okay, then with that, I will go ahead and close the public testimony hearing. And I'll bring it back to the commission for a determination.
Commissioner Cook Askins like to make a motion on item number 1 as presented by staff.
Commissioner Thomas, second.
I have a first by Commissioner Cook Askins, second by Commissioner Thomas. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins.
Aye.
Commissioner Messin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Harriman.
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And we can move on to our continued public hearing items. That would be item number 2. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission. Agenda item number 2 is case number PLAN 21-00023. Is a general plan amendment, plan unit development, site plan, and tentative track map with an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration to allow for the development of a mixed-use commercial and residential project on a 34-acre site that includes approximately 230,000 square feet of commercial, retail, office, self-storage, and restaurant uses on the approximately 16-acre southern half of the site, 376 multifamily residential units on the remaining northern half of the site, and the redesign of 19 parcels into 18 parcels via tentative track map number 20560. Due to the complexity of the project and multiple actions involved, staff has prepared a PowerPoint presentation to review the components of the project. Next slide, please. Bear with me one moment. Thank you. Next slide. All right. This project is located on Bear Valley Road between 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue. At the site located on the screen in front of you. It's also behind you on the main screen. The existing site is vacant, undeveloped, with previous grading conducted and installation of street improvements and sewer and water infrastructure on site already. To the north of the site and northwest, you have single-family residential residences existing. Commercial to the east of the site consisting of a hospital, school district offices, and undeveloped land. Undeveloped commercial to the southwest, and Bear Valley Road in the city of Hesperia to the south. In order to go through these sequentially, I wanted to provide the Planning Commission with the first action that will be required. What you see on your screen here is the general plan amendment portion of the case. This is the first step in the approval process. Currently, the site has a land use designation of commercial, and with the proposal before you, it will be changed to mixed use. This mixed use proposal complies with the policies of the general plan, which is to encourage residential densities and allow for mixed use at existing commercial sites. Additionally, staff would note that this complies with Planning Commission direction given at previous Planning Commission meetings with respect to the upcoming amendment to the land use element of the general plan. And this site was specifically called out as an opportunity site to be updated to mixed use. The next slide is the zoning designation of the site. So the general plan will be changed to mixed use. The zone will be changed to planned unit development. Once a property is zoned planned unit development, it's often referred to as a PUD. And with the PUD, a site-specific set of standards is concurrently adopted that replaced the zoning-based development standards for the site, which would typically be guided by C2 or R4 residential districts. In this case, the project known as the Victor Valley Connection includes development standards, land use allowances, parking standards, and building and site design guidelines that guide the physical development of the site. Additionally, this would include things like setbacks, building height, density, fence designs, amenities, etc. As proposed, the Victor Valley Connection standards are generally superior to typical standards outlined in the municipal code and are used as the baseline for the review of the associated site plan. So speaking of the site plan, as noted in the initial slide, I discussed the existing conditions of the site. This graphic indicates existing water lines, gas lines, sewer and drainage improvements that traverse the site. It also shows existing curb gutter and sidewalk improvements. And to the extent feasible, many of these will be reused. There will be some adjustments to driveways. Some of the water lines will be relocated or used in a different manner. But for the most part, they will try to take advantage of what is existing on site currently. The next slide is an actual site plan design for the overall site. It includes 376 multifamily dwelling units comprised of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments at the northern half of the site and 230,632 square feet of commercial space that will accommodate a mix of retail, restaurant, office, and storage uses at the south end of the site. As proposed, the multifamily and commercial components comply with the PUD standards and applicable Title 16 standards, while also generally reflecting an enhancement of what could be developed if the project were solely utilizing municipal code standards. Some examples of this are enclosed and covered parking throughout the residential areas, numerous amenities spread throughout the residential component, interconnected pedestrian connections throughout all areas of the PUD, and a unified landscape and building design theme throughout the project. Conditions of approval have also been added to ensure items such as refuse collection, signage, landscaping, and access remain consistent with the PUD standards, as well as the applicable standards of the Victorville Municipal Code. Also included as part of this PUD is a phasing plan. So what's before you is the general design of the phasing, showing the corner properties are first to be installed, followed by the property along Bear Valley Road. This plan will dictate the installation schedule of various aspects various aspects of the proposal, and conditions of approval have been added to ensure undeveloped areas of the site remain restricted access. The next slide is a brief slide that just indicates the boundaries of District 1, which is the residential component, and District 2, which is the commercial component. And before you is also an alternative plan that's been included in the plan unit development. This alternative plan adds residential units to the center of the site, increasing that unit count. This installation schedule, and if it's utilized, will be based on market demands. However, the PUD itself and the site plan conditions of approval will ensure that the proposed mitigation measures remain sufficient should this alternative site plan be used in the future. The commercial elevations of this project are proposed in a manner that coordinates the architectural theme throughout the site with the use of similar materials, colors, and finishes. A combination of various materials such as plaster, fiber cement siding, stone veneer, and metal finishes create a modern design that is present throughout the site. Other features are included throughout the different TAD buildings, as you see as a transfer throughout the screen, such as awnings, clear story windows that will provide further variation in building design to create a design theme overall that complies with the proposed PUD design guidelines. And if we were holding this to the standard of the commercial design guidelines, it would also comply with those requirements as well. The next slides, you'll see the residential components of the project, the 3 buildings that are proposed in conjunction with that aspect. You'll note that they incorporate similar materials, designs, colors of the commercial component in order to coordinate with the overall site and provide many of the same architectural themes. Next few slides are renderings of the design. Commercial component here. And the residential component, which would be your community buildings throughout the residential area of the site. Included in this proposal is also a tentative parcel map that will subdivide the existing 18 parcels into 18 new parcels in order to provide lot dimensions and boundaries that reflect the current design. Giving the pre-existing site improvements, as we discussed earlier, such as the water and gas lines that traverse the site and the sewer infrastructure, the tentative track map approach was proposed in lieu of multiple lot line adjustments in an effort to clarify infrastructure ownership and dedication issues with a single action. Regarding the environmental component of this project, it was processed in accordance with CEQA guidelines that resulted in the circulation of an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration through the state clearinghouse. This review resulted in mitigation measures regarding air quality, biological resources, cultural and tribal cultural resources, geology and soils, greenhouse gas, hydrology and water, as well as transportation measures that have been included in the conditions of approval. Additionally, comments were received as a part of this process from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife that resulted in updated biological mitigation measures being included in the final mitigated negative declaration and conditions of approval presented to the commission. Comments have also been received from the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, and they were responded to as noted in the staff report by the applicant's consultant. However, staff would note that prior to this meeting, staff was informed that the applicant has reached an agreement with this entity, and we expect to have their comments rescinded either in writing or potentially in the public comment section of this hearing. That being said, staff nonetheless concurs with the applicant's responses provided as discussed in the staff report. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Recommend that the City Council adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project, and adopt Resolution P-22-026, recommending approval by the City Council of the General Plan Amendment portion of case number PLAN 21-00023, and adopt the resolution number P-22-027, recommending approval by the City Council of the planned unit development portion of case number PLAN 21-00023, and adopt resolution P-22-028, recommending approval by the City Council of the site plan portion of case number PLAN 21-00023, subject to the attached conditions of approval. And finally, adopted resolution P-22-029, recommending approval by the City Council of the tentative track map portion of case number PLAN 21-00023, subject to the attached conditions of approval. Staff remains available for any questions as needed.
Well, thank you for that very detailed presentation. It's a That's a big one. Any questions from the commissioners of staff?
I had one quick one. I noticed that should they decide to expand and offer more of the residential area, it looks like the parking lot is essentially cut in half. Does it still provide enough parking spaces for the square footage of the buildings that would still be there?
Yes, as conditioned and as included in the planned unit development standards, if adopted. If the developer decides to take advantage of the alternate design and add the residential, that action in and of itself will be subject to additional review. So staff can review all the special studies that were provided, including the traffic study, the vehicle miles traveled analysis, the parking study for the site and summary for the site, to ensure that it complies with the PUD and any entitlement any entitlements that would be required, such as a minor site plan or site plan modification to the planning commission, would be determined at that point.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, Third Avenue, are they going to be responsible for, because that Third Avenue is not finished from Bear Valley Road to the existing back? What are they going to be responsible to improve for Third Avenue?
As part of their project, they'll be required to improve the remainder of their frontage of the street and up to the half width. Additionally, the two projects at the corners of the site, on the northeast corner of Third and Bear Valley and the northwest corner of Second and Bear Valley, those two projects were improved by separate entitlement, but all those projects and this one have also been conditioned to include a street light at Third Avenue and Bear Valley as well. So while the project on the northwest corner of Second and Bear Valley, I don't believe that's required, that's tied to the street light. The other project at the northeast corner of Third and Bear Valley, that is tied to the street light. So anything as part of what you're seeing in front of you, the PUD, when it goes, it will be required to install that street light as well.
So are they going to pave the entire street, Third Avenue, when it's extended to Bear Valley Road?
Typically the conditions are half width plus 12. I know on the northern half of that, where the single family homes exist, it'll be full improvements because they're already existing.
Right.
As you get south of those single family homes, it'll be the half width of the street plus 12.
Okay, so are we going to wait for the other half to be done when the other property on the other side, on the west side, is occupied, or is the city going to finish it?
I can answer that. Yeah, normally we do wait for development to improve the frontage along their development. We typically don't require the developer to improve the full street width unless a traffic study shows that it has to be. So yes, we probably will wait till that other property develops on the west side.
Okay, thanks. And so the McDonald's, we had that come up in the past, and I noticed on here it's not showing, and I'm sure this is just, it's not showing. Didn't we approve them having an addition to have easier access to the McDonald's?
Yes, we did. If I can get myself back here to the phasing plan. The most current version of that, I believe, excludes them from the cross access. So the McDonald's property is no longer included as part of this proposal. So they would stand separately.
Okay, but we did allow McDonald's to do a different entry from Bear Valley, I believe, from Bear Valley Road.
So for the purpose of this proposal, at one point they had cross access showing all the way over to Third, initially, and when the McDonald's was presented, yes, I do believe that was shown. It's since been revised, and what you see on the screen is that McDonald's site parcel no longer has cross access west to Third, along with phase 1. It'll be relying upon phase 2 to be developed to have that access. For all intents and purposes, it'll function as part of the shopping center. However, for the purpose of the plan unit development standards, the remainder of the plan, it's not a part of this approval.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And I actually had a couple quick follow-up questions that go right in line with what Commissioner Harriman was saying, just to get back to the Third Avenue improvements, Mr. Gengler. I do understand it's this project would be required to have the half width plus 12, but seeing that this is right there at the corner of Bear Valley and Third, and you're saying there would be a new signal there. If at full build out of this project, half width plus 12 wasn't enough, the traffic demands required more, what would happen in that case?
Well, in that case, if the city had to step in later and have a small project, we could do that. But typically, you know, they haven't submitted plans yet for the intersection, but typically when the traffic signal is installed, the ramps, the curb returns are put at the ultimate location. So that means the pavement would flare out to, you know, the full width of the street right at the intersection. But Third Avenue would not be widened along the full length on the west side, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it would widen out close to the intersection.
Yeah, I was just, I know that's typical how it works, and I wouldn't want anybody to do anything more than what our analysis shows is sufficient. But I just know, being so close to Bear Valley, I was wondering what would happen when, if and when, because I know there'll be a lot of traffic there.
Right.
If we had full build out, especially. And then on the other one, getting back to the parcel on the southeast corner, which is the fast food restaurant. I know we approved that a while back, but it is not being called out as part of the PUD. And I don't remember the architectural look of that, but is it in uniformity with these new PUD guidelines?
Yes, it is. It includes many of the modern design features and paint colors and scheme that's included in the proposal before you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, and with that, I will go ahead and I'll open up the public hearing on agenda item number 2. Do we have any representative or applicant on number 2 that would like to speak? Okay, is there anyone else in the audience here that would like to speak on item number 2? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, everyone. Alex has been a great help to us. Scott, Mr. Gengler, everyone.
Are you with the ownership team or representative? Are you?
Yes, we've been working on this for about 8 years.
Okay.
And this was already being touched by another developer before with a different project. It was industrial showroom, and offsites were all done. There were some underground utilities, except for the dry utilities that they're all put in, but we are changing some of it. The reason we had to go through the plan unit development was because we had to change most of it and then comply with the general plan. So through all these years, we've been working with these fantastic gentlemen in here, and they've done nothing but helping us from the bottom of their heart. And I really want to thank them. They've put us in the right direction, worked with our engineers, architects, and CEQA, it's been unbelievable. Like, what is it, 950 pages? And thankfully, we got it all done. And in terms of architectural, I guess, theme that you were asking, we have different architects for this project. We have commercial architect, DLR. Actually, the guy graduated 15 years after I did from architecture school at USC. But he's a great architect. The company is a fantastic firm. And we have a different industrial architect who did the storage for us, but they all collaborated with one another, plus the residential architect, which they also did the Lakeview for us. And they work together, and I wish you could have seen the rendering. It's just magnificent. In terms of Third Street, Third Avenue, like Alex explained. We are paving that and we're putting a light there, installing a traffic light. It's gonna be a fantastic project, I hope. Very expensive, a lot of money being expended there, and a lot of work, hard work. And we are hoping to make it useful for the people in the city. I mean, if there are any specific questions, I had my consultant all trying to get on the Zoom. They just got on Zoom. They had a hard time. They couldn't get on the Zoom, and Freddie was helping them in here. But thankfully they got on, and if there are any specific questions that I can't answer, they're ready to answer the questions. I think Alex did a fantastic job, explaining the whole project for everyone. And if there are any other questions, please go ahead and.
Yeah, I agree. And are there any questions of the commission at this time of any of the development team representatives?
Not really a question, but I'm actually real excited for this too.
Thank you.
I've been wanting something like this, and we'll have more in the future, but I think this is going to set a great precedent,
Thank you.
especially with all the CEQA. Hopefully it makes them happy. But our staff is great. They've taught me how to be a planning commissioner.
Oh, they're all.
So I can agree with you on everything, and I'm really excited for the project to move forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, if there's no other question.
On your, I was going to ask on the, you shared with us the proposed phasing, phase 1,
Yes.
6, I think. Obviously, it looked like phase 1 was the other corner at Third and Bear Valley. When it went to phase 2, phase 3, are those, without divulging too much, do you have users in play for those, or are those just still waiting to be phased in? and
Well,
there's interest.
in terms of construction, it's going to be a little tricky. First, we're doing the gas at both corners and developing the streets, bringing all the necessary utilities and into the ground, installing a light, paving Third Avenue, getting everything ready. I think the plan unit development was separate from these two corners. We asked the planning department to help us to get these two going first, because the only way we could do McDonald's in the corner, it was to sell them the land. They wouldn't do it any other way. So, okay, we'll sell you that corner. And what we've been cooperating with them, our engineers and architects, everybody, cooperating to prepare the grounds for them, including all the engineering work and everything else. So we be developing those two first, and hopefully we can grade the entire front. So after that, we're working with different tenants right now, because we're not going to build anything on spec. Our brokers are working with different tenants to bring them in, and then as we get the tenants, we build the commercial part. But we're going to build a storage ourselves. It'll be for our own count. But the clinics and the rest of the retail will be built to suit. We do have, thank God, one requirement from a very good large tenant, and that will be the key. So hopefully
Yep, it always is.
we can get that guy in. And apartments, we're going to be building it for ourselves, just like Lakeview. Same architects, fantastic project, like another resort type development, very nice looking. And I've been collaborating with the architects myself and trying to make the best possible design there. And we're very thankful they're coming out really, really nice. So we do have also 4 phases for the apartment development, because it's like 376 units. And we'll be building, I mean, like 90 at a time. So it'll be a very nice development, phase by phase, commercial, residential, industrial, the retail, everything. So it can be just like that, but also hopefully the interest rates will go down a bit. No,
Totally understand. Thank you for that.
okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to speak to us on item number 2? How about anyone online?
There is no one.
Okay, then I will go ahead and I will close the public hearing on agenda item number 2 and bring it back to the commission.
I'll move that we approve the project as written.
I second.
I have a first by Vice Chair Harriman, a second by Commissioner Messin. Take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman.
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations on getting through one more step. Okay, moving on now to agenda item number 3, staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth, fellow commissioners. Item number 3 is case PLAN 21-00040. It is a vesting tentative track map with an initial study and proposed mitigated negative declaration to allow for the creation of 152 single-family lots from 2 vacant and undeveloped properties within the Vista Verde specific plan. This is located at the northwest corner of La Mesa Road and Mesa View Drive. The proposed map complies with our municipal code, including the single-family residential design guidelines. Some of the highlights with this track include cul-de-sacs throughout the track. It also includes a centralized dual-use stormwater basin and park, and a natural drainage course along the western side of the track, which includes landscaping and a trail along the eastern ridge. The project is within the Vista Verde specific plan. It does comply also with this specific plan, including minimum lot sizes of 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. As shown on the map here, the current property extends into this natural drainage course. And with that, the applicant has requested a waiver of a segment of La Mesa Road, which you can see there on the southwest corner of the track. There has been a revision to the agenda that has been presented to the Planning Commission, and copies of that are also available in the lobby. This revision would memorialize that waiver request. This waiver request is mainly due to the fact of 2 items. There is a natural drainage course with a regional stream that runs through this track. There's also a shallow Kinder Morgan gas line that runs along La Mesa Drive. For this developer to improve that facility, we would need to modify the location of that regional gas line. So therefore, this project has been supported by our city engineer with the waiver request. And this agenda revision would add a recital to the tentative track map resolution that would memorialize that waiver. And furthermore, the project does include a mitigated negative declaration. An initial study was routed through the state clearinghouse. We have responded to all state agency comments and incorporated their conditions within the final initial study. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigated monitoring and reporting program for the project, and adopt resolution number P-22-031 approving the tentative track case PLAN 21-00040, subject to the attached conditions of approval. And with that, I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff on number 3 here?
So with the waiver, what portions of street improvements won't be done? Because La Mesa isn't, it's only paved up to a certain point, right?
Correct, yes. If I could have the slide deck moved to the map page. Well, this is a good visual representation since it shows the pavement. So as we mentioned in a prior item, the developer is required to, along their street frontages, along the border of their site, to improve half width plus 12. So that's a visual representation there, and where the pavement stops on the west side of the track, it's just that small segment where the drainage and the Kinder Morgan line, due to its elevation, would conflict. So it's quite a complex improvement at this time, and given its regional nature, it would qualify to be a project that we could fund later through our development impact fees.
Okay, thank you.
In the add-on portion for that condition, it does talk about that it's a non-typical fuel line that's not under the control of the city. I was just curious, what is that fuel line?
Yeah, I can answer that. So the Kinder Morgan fuel line, it actually delivers fuel, liquid fuel, and those lines have been in the ground for many years, and they were just going through what were, dirt roads, and they don't have, in some places they don't have adequate cover, so it's operated by a private utility, Kinder Morgan, and that's actually transported all the way to Las Vegas. So those are active lines, and so for any construction around their lines, they have to be involved. They have certain standards. Sometimes the lines have to be relocated, et cetera. And in this case, it looks like it would have to be lowered just to accommodate the structure, the culvert that would have to be someday constructed to convey that water underneath La Mesa Road.
Is it natural gas or?
It's actually fuel. It's fuel. I know some of the products these are jet fuel, and that goes all the way to, I think, McCarran Airport in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were transporting airport fuel through.
Those lines have been there a very long time.
They must be been there a long time. How, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Brian, how deep is it right now?
I don't know. I know that we have the developer's engineer here, and he might be able to tell us. I don't remember.
So I imagine that's just considered kind of like any utility easement that goes all the way through.
Yeah, they typically want at least 4 feet of cover above their lines.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions of staff? Okay, and I'll open up the public hearing portion for comments. Do we have the applicant or developer available?
Good evening, Chair Kerf, members of the commission. My name is Bo Cooper with United Engineering Group. I'm the entitlement manager and rep for the applicant, who is also available if you guys have any questions directly for them. The project overall, again, similar to the gentleman before, I want to thank Alex and staff for helping get this to this point. Again, with CEQA on pretty much every project lately, it's been a challenge to get here, but we're happy to be here. On some of the questions for La Mesa Road and that Kinder Morgan line that runs through it, to answer Commissioner Harriman's question. If you drive down La Mesa Road now, you'll notice most of the projects that have been built to this point have filled La Mesa Road. It keeps getting higher and higher and higher. Where the road basically stops right now and has the barricades, we will be extending that road about another, I believe it's 300 feet further from where it is now. At that point is where it dips down into that wash, and at the lowest point of that wash, we've had that line potholed all the way across. At the lowest point of that wash, that line is about 3.5 feet deep is all. So again, we will continue La Mesa Road. We will fill La Mesa Road. There are many requirements, as Mr. Gingler has pointed out, for Kinder Morgan to build La Mesa. Some of those developments to the east have had to do those as well. There are no, when you build La Mesa and have to compact the road and everything, it's primarily handwork. Very little machinery can be done to compact and vibrate and do all of that. The normal things you would do for street improvement plans. La Mesa Road is a different animal when it comes to that, because you cannot be a part of that and run a lot of heavy equipment over the top of that until you get to a certain amount of cover, I believe, where La Mesa Road is actually at. I think the minimum is at least 6 to 8 feet of cover through that area.
And that's because of the fuel line.
Yes, it's running in La Mesa Road right now. So we're doing the same thing, kind of continuing, adding fill on top of existing La Mesa Road in order to get to the amount of cover that is required by Kinder Morgan. Kinder Morgan requires a rep, there's going to be a rep on site during the construction of that road. There has been, I believe, for all the tracks leading up to this point as well. So that is the overall reason for that waiver of the street is that crossing is going to be an interesting crossing that Kinder Morgan is going to have to be a part of, because that portion of the fuel line is going to need to be relocated or deeper or somewhere.
I have a question. Is that what those yellow? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I've seen Kinder Morgan on Baldy Mesa Road, which is just about the western.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is eventually going to have an overX, or it's going to end up having to get more soil on top of it, or would they do? I know this is speculate, or do they have to? Are they going to end up going deeper?
Where the drainage course is now, the structure that's going to be required to be put in there eventually, and then La Mesa Road would drive over it in order to allow the water to continue across and underneath La Mesa Road. Where that structure needs to go is right about where the line is. So that line's going to have to be lowered. It's either going to have to be lowered to get underneath that box structure, whatever that structure is, or it's going to have to be relocated maybe further south away from La Mesa Road, almost like make a U kind of around the structure, because then it wouldn't have to be as deep, but it would be out of the right of way for La Mesa Road. Those are essentially the two options.
So moving forward, and I'm just trying to get educated here. Does that is that a utility? That's a private pipeline.
It's a private. Yes.
So will they require all that to be when it does need to go deeper or anything like that? Are they going to make the developers that are developing the local area probably do that, or do they do it? Are they responsible for it? Or?
I believe there's an MOU with the city. And when it's done as a capital improvement project, Kinder Morgan will relocate the line.
I think I know where that goes. I think that thing goes to Yermo. I think there's a fuel facility in Yermo. Dang. Is it?
Yeah, it's
Wow. I didn't know it was there, but I've always seen the yellow caution sticks.
yeah, and it is. I mean, and La Mesa is also I'm spacing off the top of my head now the overall right of way, but it's one of the larger arterials.
I think I saw them putting that. It goes under the aqueduct. I think. I think it does. Either that or it goes over it. There are some pipes over it. Okay.
Well, I was going to ask later, but since we're on the topic, Mr. Gengler, maybe you can say how far? I'm just curious now, where does that pipeline start? So we know it's in La Mesa, but is it as far as east as to Nisqually, or is it does it bank off somewhere in time?
I'm not going to remember all the alignments that zigzag through our city. I know that part of it is on Bear Valley Road. Some of it's on Baldy Mesa, obviously La Mesa. I know it goes up Highway 395. I know it also goes to the east and eventually up Adelanto Road. So it zigzags through.
So it's exactly. So all of your projects you've worked on, a lot of them have to take this into consideration.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Thanks. Any other questions for Mr. Cooper?
I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. I really like the trails in the park that are included in this development. And I think it ties in the residential area and it gives the community that if they move in, eventually move in, an opportunity to get to know each other and have something for their children. So I do appreciate that being included. Thank you.
I'll take lot 74.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Nah, that's too big. You'll park all your junk. Too much junk on that lot. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Cooper.
thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak to us on item number 3? Is there anyone online?
There is not.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing on item number 3 and bring it back to the commission.
I move that we approve can I call that a variance or?
Yeah, include the waiver in the resolution.
Yeah, I'll approve the resolution and the waiver.
Commissioner Cook Askins, second.
I have a first by Vice Chair Harriman, a second by Commissioner Cook Askins. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Hi.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman.
Aye.
Chair Kerr.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. That has been approved. And we will move on to item number 4, staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Agenda item number 4 is case number PLAN 22-00001. It's a tentative parcel map with a mitigated negative declaration to allow for the creation of 3 parcels from one existing 15-acre parcel, zone C2 general commercial. And this is located at the northeast corner of Cottonwood Street and Paiute Avenue. The subject tentative tract map is being proposed in order to allow for the creation of 3 parcels. No development is proposed at this time, and the subdivision is being proposed in order to facilitate individual development on the resultant parcels, as well as their possible sale. All parcels are designed in accordance with Title 16 standards, including lot size and lot dimensions. Additionally, this project was processed through CEQA with an initial study and a mitigated negative declaration, which resulted in mitigation measures for air quality, biological resources, cultural and tribal cultural resources, geology and soils were also included, which were included in the mitigated negative declaration and were also included as conditions of approval. As a result of this CEQA process, comments were received from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District, and the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. And as noted in the staff report, all of these mitigation measures have been included in the mitigated negative declaration and the conditions of approval accordingly. Staff would note, though, that although these measures have been included as a result of the CEQA review process, they will not be implemented until development occurs on site. This is in accordance with allowances provided by the Subdivision Map Act. So in essence, although the conditions are in place now, until individual development is proposed on this site, whether that be a commercial development, an office development, at that time, one of 2 things will happen. It'll either be found exempt from CEQA via categorical exemption, and these measures will be implemented, or it will go through its own initial study process with a likely mitigated negative declaration, at which time updated measures will be applied to that project. With that being said, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project, and adopt resolution number P-22-032, approving tentative parcel map case number PLAN 22-00001 subject to the attached conditions of approval. Staff remains available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Haragi. Any questions of staff on this one?
I know I should remember this, but is this zone commercial or light and, what was it? Because it didn't.
C2, general commercial.
C2, okay, thanks.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to us on? Welcome again, Mr. Cooper.
Bo Cooper, United Engineering Group, Entitlement Manager here, also representing the applicant on the parcel map. They've reviewed all the conditions. We worked through the staff report again with Alex and staff. Have no questions on the conditions of approval, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for the representative? Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to us on item number 4? And anyone online?
There is none.
Thank you. So then I will close the public hearing on item number 4 and bring it back to the commission.
I, Commissioner Thomas, move that we approve staff recommendation.
I second.
I have a first by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Messin. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook-Askins.
Aye.
Commissioner Messin.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman.
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And next we move on to our new business item number 5. Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Chairman Kurth, fellow commissioners. Item number 5 is a discussion on land uses within the Old Town Specific Plan. Since the updated specific plan was adopted in 2019, we have had a couple of amendments to that, which included the inclusion of efficiency units within the multifamily areas. We've also permitted additional land uses within the specific plan, including navigation centers within the yellow areas that you're seeing on the map there. We've also added some other automotive uses such as repair and car sales. Following a earlier item this year for an emergency shelter, I brought to the Planning Commission's attention back in June, I believe, the ability to have a discussion to keep the specific plan relevant and responding to the needs of the community and the desire of the commission. That item regarding emergency shelters did bring up a large amount of opposition from the business community and some statements from the commission that the use may not be in an appropriate location. So I wanted to have a forum where we could discuss through existing land uses within the specific plan that are permitted and conditionally permitted, and get some feedback from the public and the commission on other uses that you'd like to see or modifications to those existing uses. So I'd like to first just kind of give an overview of the colors that you're seeing here and give you some orientation to this map. What runs through the heart of this specific plan through the center is 7th Street. And then you have D Street that primarily runs in east to westerly direction. The central core of the Old Town area is the red designation. That's our retail overlay district. I'm sorry, it's a mixed use retail. It also has an overlay district along 7th and D Street, which dictates that you have commercial frontage on that bottom floor. The pink areas are a mixed use service. The orange area is residential medium high designation for multifamily. And then the yellow areas are residential medium, also allowing multifamily, but at a decreased density. The green areas are active open space. The blue areas are community anchor space, such as parks and schools would be permitted there. And currently, as it relates to emergency shelters and navigation centers, we have them conditionally permitted in the red area, not including the overlay, which is on 7th and D Street. They're also conditionally permitted in the pink, yellow, orange areas. Yes. So as you can see, it's a large area of Old Town, and there is special provisions for emergency shelters within the Old Town specific plan. I believe they're included in the packet I provided, but they're geared towards trying to create spaces from some other sensitive uses, including 1,000-foot separation from nursing homes, schools, public park, assembly facilities, and other homeless shelters. But due to the mix of all these uses, there is a provision the Planning Commission can override those, and that's what was done earlier this year. But in looking at the plan, now that we've added additional uses, such as the navigation center in Old Town in the yellow area next to Bedell Park, we could take action to propose modifications to that, to take that conditionally permitted use out of the commercial areas of Old Town. Also, some emerging trends that we're seeing in the rise in popularity of food trucks. We realize that Old Town's not going to revitalize overnight, but to create some more business activity and synergy, we have seen other cities look at allowing semi-permanent truck hubs or truck lots for food trucks. Obviously, they'd have to, be permitted by the county, and we'd had certain site improvements. That is something that staff could look at to help spur some immediate business activity in areas that may have had a building before, but there's just a void now. So it could kind of bridge the gap until a permanent building could be placed there in the future. But with that, I mainly wanted to just bring this forward to answer questions, have a discussion, and receive your feedback, and hopefully return back with some more public meetings on this discussion.
Thank you. Anyone want to start it off? Anybody got some thoughts?
I had a question. How many empty lots and buildings are there within this planner? Or at least in like the red portion? I know it's generally, it's downtown. It's where we see a lot of the commercial business that is still open. Do we know how many of those are empty lots and buildings?
We have not done an inventory, but I'd say in the last decade it has increased based on different buildings that have been demoed or due to fire or other reasons.
Thank you.
How about the parking issue? Do you foresee a parking structure? I know years ago when we had redevelopment fees, there was the plan to build a parking structure, I think at the old Mission Linen building. I could be wrong, but looking forward, are we thinking about a parking structure, a multi-level?
I would hope we have that problem to know that we have that much business thriving in there that we need that. We do have surface parking currently, and we do have it permitted for additional parking should we need that in the future based on new developments. So when the commission sees new developments coming in, we'll evaluate that requirement for parking. The Old Town specific plan does call for 7th Street to bring back on-street parking. That is something that staff will be working on this year to finalize a design for that segment, mainly between Forest and D Street. So that will bring some additional parking in the future. And then, yeah, just as businesses come in, we'll ensure that there is adequate parking.
Yeah, and then my other comment, I'm gonna just tell everybody right now, I'm not for putting more emergency. I don't like centralizing all our emergency shelter like stuff right down there. So you mentioned maybe we could remove that. And I would be, I think that's the path to take. Where the junior high school was, that we could build a park there, huh?
That's the community anchor in this photo, right?
Yes, that is the community anchor. Yes.
Nice big park with an amphitheater for, yeah.
It currently would allow for that use, yes.
It's Scott, is that property owned by the city or by the school district?
Last I checked, it is still owned by the school district.
The large shopping center that has been virtually leveled for some time now by the library I can't tell by the map. Is that included in this?
It is not. It is just south of Mojave Drive, so it is outside.
Why isn't it?
That is a good question. I think when we had some of the workshops originally on Old Town, it has expanded since the original Old Town specific plan, but it did not expand all the way to that shopping center. I do think that we are addressing that old shopping center with our general plan update by creating a mixed use zone along 7th Street.
That's right.
So our hope is that we could encourage some development in that area, especially since it's an opportunity zone and we're allowing some more density, so that could occur.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
I had a couple of thoughts when I was looking through this. I was trying to figure out, I haven't really heard or seen too many issues lately personally with any of the land use stuff in Old Town besides what we had worked on recently on the commission. Excuse me, but I did look at the land use table, and it was kind of interesting to see that the red area, which is the mixed use retail, and then the pink area, which is the mixed use service. Those are the only two types that are not residential. And in the land use table, the conditional and permitted uses seem to go really hand in hand through almost all the uses on both of those two. Like, it's almost like they're both the same thing. And I was wondering, what is the main difference? I know there's a description that I read on here, but in reality, what's the main difference to have almost all the same uses, but two different zone districts in two different areas?
The distinction, I believe, is just the amount of more service uses that could create more impacts, like the auto repairs. Those are kind of the main distinction between the mixed use service and the mixed use retail. And then, like I said earlier, with the 7th Street, all of the properties along 7th Street have different development standards. So where you may not see particularly differences in the land use table, there may be differences in the development standard on how that area is supposed to look. So for example, the red area has development standards that dictate more street frontage building to create that urban look, street scene. Whereas the pink area, it's further from the core. We have more allowances for them to have maybe a parking lot in the front, or not the percentage of building frontage that you would see in the red.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. The uses could be similar, but the look of that area would be a different purpose. Yeah. Okay, and then the second one was touched on a little bit when Mr. Will, when you mentioned, you know, one of the suggestions or just a possibility would to take out the conditional use for shelters. Was that statement made like as an option to completely say it's not permitted or conditional in any of this area, so then a shelter would not or could not happen down here?
I'm just going based off of my read of the comments that were received in that prior item. I took from that the most appropriate location is within a residential area where because it is a residential use. And so if I were to make a recommendation to bring back for additional discussion, I would be looking at more of like the yellow area. It would still need a conditional use permit to make sure it complies with all of our code, and that, you know, the public can come out and speak, and we can make sure that there's proper conditions for it to follow. But yes, I think that there was numerous comments from the public on the impacts to the business.
Yep, there was, and I think for myself, I'm in line with what you had kind of just stated and what Commissioner Harriman had stated, and I think what a few people stated at the last meeting is that the shelter use that we had approved last time, it would probably be, for me, it would not be as conducive in a commercial business district versus a residential district. So I would be in favor of making, at least at a minimum, that change to the land use table for the retail or service zone districts. And then the third and final thing that I had was, is staff aware in the recent history of any, you know, comments or proposals that have come across the planning desk at City Hall with citizens or folks that are wanting to do things down there that might not be in line with what our current specific plan talks about? Because we wouldn't know that as we're not in City Hall. Are you seeing anything, you know, on the ground?
Well, I've had some discussions with the developers that want to do some type of interim use, if that's what you want to call it, where you're not doing a full set of construction plans and brick and mortar, but utilizing trailers or trucks to provide some type of use, or even storage containers. We've seen this in other cities where if it's executed well, it actually looks unique and brings character to the area. So we could, if you're open to that, we can explore different construction types or different uses that are temporary in nature, but that could be permitted administratively, such as food trucks on a lot. And then we'd have detailed minimum standards that they'd have, but make it streamlined for them. So if they did have a property owner that wanted to function that way, they could get a permit for it without going through, full sets of plans and planning commission review, because it would already be outlined in a code that the planning commission bought off on.
Mm-hmm.
So we can explore that. I just think, implementing a specific plan could take 20, 30 years. But there could be some immediate changes that spur activity. And we just, it seems like the perception of food trucks are changing. They're becoming more common, and we don't currently have a place in the city that permits them permanently. And given the vacant lots there, like I said, it could create some synergy if it's regulated properly and have the proper permits. So something to think about. If you're open to that concept, we could bring something back related to those type of interim uses to discuss along with a code specific plan amendment to address the emergency shelters moving away from the commercial core.
And if there's any, I don't know if internally we have any reports of people that have been looking in Old Town and want to do X, Y, Z. And I know a lot of them could be businesses saying, hey, I want to do such and such business over on this street. And maybe that doesn't fit the exact chart. I think, especially in this area that just needs so much help to, spark things and get things going someday. I would always be in favor of more flexibility, even if it was, the food truck thing. It's a great example. Or maybe even trying to think of something just off the top of my head. If it was let's say it's a material supply company that wants to use one of the vacant lots over here in the service, but that's not allowed in not even conditional, let's say. But if it seems to make sense and it gives some lifeblood and somebody's spending some money and there's some activity, I think we should be able to look at these with a little bit more flexibility for this area.
That's true.
I agree with that. I just think we have so many car lots in the city. In my opinion, allowing car dealerships in there, they're going to be used car dealerships, is going to be polluting the place. I would like to see that eliminated. I think we have enough. We have quite a few already, and quite a few areas can and are located.
As far as the food trucks go, I would like to see if staff was able to put something together as far as location goes, like if they're gonna be on one lot rather than throughout down the street on various lots and they're spread out. I think it'd be nicer to see them in a more cohesive area. So if someone is going down there, they have numerous options around them rather than walking up and down the street where it's a heavily trafficked area and could be an issue.
Okay, thank you for that. And if I could ask a follow-up question related to the auto sales, I just want to point out the current code allows them in the mixed use service area. So I just want to, before we explore that further, if that's what the planning commission, it is just limited to the pink areas. But we could restrict that further if that's the consensus of the commission.
I think it makes sense in the pink areas and probably not the red, because someday that red area is going to be more of in my vision of an old town, it would be typical to like other old towns, the brick storefront, maybe mixed use living above, below, and then auto sales could be on the outlying area in the pink. But for now, if somebody in the situation that Old Town's in right now, if somebody came and took an old building or a vacant lot and wanted to sell used cars and they cleaned the building up and there was some money being generated and flowed there as of today, I'd be all for that.
Is there anything that can be done about any of the buildings that are boarded up but aren't being used? Or those just aren't owned by the city, so they had to wait until the actual property owner either sells it or a developer comes in?
Yeah, so those are, I don't believe we have any city building down there that's not used. So they're all privately owned. For various reasons, they may not be ready for occupancy. They may not have found the right use for that. But we'll explore some additional uses that could gain occupancy. It seems like there's an appetite to get more occupancy. So we have just more people down there that are occupying buildings, looking out for those buildings. So we don't have further vandalism issues on those vacant sites.
Thank you. And I had one more question, Scott. Is the old Kings Ranch Market that's further down 7th Street, is that reflective on here? Or is that too far down that it wouldn't show up on here?
It is too far south. Yes.
Thank you.
And there was, I remember a couple of years ago, the city was working on a program with the storefront windows where they were replacing with like strong material with graphics on it that made it look like it was a vibrant, open business. Is that program still happening? Are you aware?
I think there's been some staffing issues with the pandemic and having an influx of additional CDBG funds that the city has to disperse. So there hasn't been actually time to focus on that. It was a small amount of funds to help with facade improvements. But we are revisiting that. We're hoping to bring back a proposal that could possibly have a nonprofit run point on that type of program, where similar to other service programs, if they're a qualifying property or business owner, they could easily get a small loan or grant that would allow them to do those improvements.
That would be a good idea. It looked I only saw a few of them down there. It's been a couple, 2-3 years, but just on a couple of the more higher visible or profile buildings, that little bit kind of helped. I'd like to see that if there's a way that the city can, work with a nonprofit or something with existing resources. I know that's tough. Any other thoughts or direction for staff to help bring back to us for the next time we take a look
I
at
have one more question. Excuse me. That, I don't know if that's a cement plant or a lime plant, right there.
Mhm.
Is that in the pink?
It is, yes.
So we're looking in the future of eliminating that place, or?
It is currently a non-conforming use. I would love to see the site repurposed at some point and make use of the that rainbow bridge there to create some type of biking or walking path through there. But that's something that could happen
Yeah,
way down the line.
yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking too. I don't know how they do business right there. It's so confined.
It is.
Okay, I think I need to open up a public hearing on this one, right? For comment?
Yes, that would be.
Okay, I will open up public. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to us on item number 5? Is there anyone online?
There is not.
Thank you. So I will close the public hearing portion and direct staff to bring this item back with further information as we discussed in this meeting. And then we'll wrap up with our any reports from commissioner members or staff, and anything, Commissioner Thomas?
No, not a lot. Just again to thank staff for all the good work that they're doing. I also, again, noticed that a lot of the contractors are doing a good job with the building. They're keeping the areas fairly clean, and just it's good to see the development going on now. So thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Harriman?
Yeah, I attended the National Night Out at the football field at Hook Park, and I thought that was great. It was a lot better than being on the asphalt on Civic, but I thought that was a good layout.
Commissioner Cook Askins?
Thank you, Chair. I echo the same sentiments as Vice Chair Harriman. It was nice to be at the National Night Out. That was actually my first time going to it. So it was a nice event. A lot of people and kids and everything. So it was really nice. And secondly, it's nice to see some of the projects that have been approved over the last couple months starting construction. And as always, Mr. Webb and your staff do a fantastic job.
Commissioner Messin?
I just want to thank staff again for everything that you put together and answering questions. The projects that we've seen come forward have been wonderful, and I think it really shows the where the city is going. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'd like to remind us that we have a couple of training opportunities coming up. I think we were invited to, is it the American Planning Association? That's the one in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And that's coming up at the end. Do you remember when that is?
It's in October.
October 1st through 4th.
That's in October. So if anyone's interested in more information on that, I don't know if it's too late for that or not, but we could reach out to city staff. That one is local Southern California. And then this morning I received the email that there's a training opportunity, one day conference and training specifically for planning commissioners. And I believe that one's in Rancho Cucamonga, and I believe that's coming the end of this month.
Correct.
So check your emails on that one. That may be a really good one as well to dig in if we want a little extra, outside training there. Any reports from staff?
I have none today. Just want to wish everybody a happy Labor Day.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.